Alright, so I'm going to be making this video about the Balboa system right here that I purchased and having an issue with my 2-speed pump that I purchased to go along with it, not changing from low to high circulation. And the way that I corrected that was through a wiring change. So upon the initial startup of your Balboa, what you'll be doing is going on here. You'll have your pins set up there, and you want the first one to be set to 1. That'll be your test pin, and that'll allow you to go into your initial settings, and that will help you decide which is the proper setup that you have. So this is a list of all the settings. It's pretty much the same on most of the Balboa systems that I've seen, where it's got the integrated board in with the heating system. So the default setting is number 21. My bad. Okay. Which is a 2-speed pump, no blower, no additional pumps or anything like that. And so that's the way I have it set up right now. I've got no additional stuff attached to it. How it looks on the wiring diagram right here is you've got your pump number 1 going in, plugged in there. If you were to add a blower, it would go into here. Right here is your 2 selections. If you want to put your controller in, I put mine in right there. That's your little switch, your dip switch board. This obviously right here, J15, is your light. And there's a couple little additional things, just expander board right there. You have the expander board right there. And so then you also have your power coming in right there. You've got your 2 hot lines and your white. And then obviously you've got a ground coming in, grounded to the board. And then you have a few fuses. You got your 2 big ones right here, and then you've got a couple smaller ones throughout it. You got another fuse right there. And then, so my problem that I was having was that once I went to go and do my initial setup, what's going to happen is you'll have pin number 1 set to on, and then the rest of it's down, off. And I'll pull that up a little bit so people can see what all the different options are. This is on, this is off. So when you first go and turn it on, switch number 1 is the only one on. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go on to on your board here. When you first power it up, you're going to hit, this is your warm plus, your cool down minus, and that's your light there. And then that's your jet number 1, jet number 2, and that's auxiliary. And on your first startup, within approximately a minute, you're going to have to hit this +1 up 2 times. Then you're going to have to hit the light button once. And then you're going to have to hit the warm 1 more time. Then it will bring up here in the display, it'll say setup. When you see setup, after it'll go through its little initial startup. Then you can cycle through on these two little buttons, and that'll set your setup, which was this here. Through your options, you got to pick the right one. If you got a multiple 2 speeds, multiple 1 speed pumps, however you got it set up. Now, so I knew I had it on the right setup, but my problem is that when I went to go and get it running after my initial setup, the jet number 1 here, to cycle between high and low, you just press that one because it's all being controlled through that. For your pump, is I would press that and it would just remain at basically circulation and at a low pressure. And so the way that I remedied that was I went and figured out what was coming out of the board. So the problem is I was using an Everbuilt pump, and it looks like it's very similar setup on a lot of these pumps. The way that it comes out is the big issue, because otherwise you're not going to be getting high pressure like this coming out. So I'll show you the original setup that I had here. So this is the Everbuilt wiring diagram. This is for manual switches. It's not going to work for you if you've got a controller board, because your controller board is controlling it, and it wouldn't even work. You wouldn't be sending any power because the controller wouldn't be sending any power. So you'll be setting it up with this, where you've got your power going into your box. Now, this is where I got confused, because you'd think that it would be the same coming out. So you got your black in the center, your red for high, your low up top, which would coming out of this wiring would be white. So when you look at the actual pump right here, you can see I don't have it set up that way. And that's because I did originally have it where the white was at my yellow. My red was down here. Behind here, you can see it's red going into the actual pump. And then I had my black going in here as my common. So the issue that it took me a while to go and find this diagram, because for whatever reason, nobody had it up. This is your problem right here. As you can see, your white is your common, your red is your high speed, and your black is your low speed. Obviously, you've got your ground here. So when you go back to the right here, you can see, and this is the way I've seen most pumps set up anyway, is that you've got your high up there and your high, your low up there, and then your high there, and then you've got your common right there. So what I had to go and do was, obviously, I went and I figured out what was going on after looking at what the wires were coming out of the controller. So we'll look at my controller. All right, so after you're done doing your initial setup, what it's going to do is you'll have you select your setup through that board, and then you're going to go ahead and turn off the switch with the power still on, and then you're going to turn off the breaker, and then you're going to go ahead and reset it. And this is your pump number 1 coming out. This is your heater, blower, auxiliary. And then you've got, here's your sensor A, sensor B, and these are both your heaters here, little heater coils. And then you've got your light up here, and then you've got your controller. So there's a good amount of discrepancy coming out of that. Just make sure that you know that information about what's coming out of the actual system there, and then it'll end up working for you. Hopefully that helps some people, because that was throwing me for a major loop. And now when I go ahead and hit this button, it cycles to the high or the low pressure. And before, what was happening, it was just the pump was working, but it was just stuck in low circulation. I could assume that if you have it, mixed up even another way, that it only blows or pushes through at a high speed, and then you can't have just a low regular speed. When I'd hit this button, all that would happen was I'd hear a clicking in it, so it was trying to switch over. I had my setup proper, but the problem is that it had was not able to switch over to the high speed. So all I would hear was just an additional little whirring sound. So hopefully that helps somebody. If you have any questions, I can try to help you out. Once you kind of understand how this is all set up through the wiring diagrams and the dip switches, it's actually pretty easy. It's a little overwhelming at first. I was in a little bit of a rush when I set it up because it was raining pretty hard and I was trying to keep the board dry. If you have, for instance, a sensor A right here, that's where they plug in, sensor A and sensor B for your heater. If it's saying sensor A too hot or sensor A fault, just go ahead and make sure that you don't have any water in there and it's not shorted out. Just unplug it, blow it out, or let it dry, and then reset the system and it'll work. Otherwise, you need new sensors. Pretty much everything is pretty understandable if you just kind of look at it for a few minutes. It's, like I said, it's a little overwhelming, but it's pretty easy. So have a good one.